These and other extreme environments, such as space. The solutions for Antarctica today could solve the problems of tomorrow in other extreme environments, such as space. Held for the first time this year, the Space Challenge has brought together some of the brightest minds from across the country to use space data and intelligence to solve navigation issues on the ice in Antarctica. There are 5 regional finalists competing for the grand prize. The regions that are represented are North Island, Auckland Bay of Plenty, Hawke's Bay, Gisborne, Waikato, Wanganui, Taranaki and Wellington, Nelson, Marlborough, West Coast and Canterbury, and Southland, Otago and Dunedin. The regional winners receive mentorship and working space in a local incubator or co-working space to further work on their solutions, and the grand prize winner, which we're going to be judging today, wins $40,000 in cash and a place in the Soda Lift program valued at $70,000 and a specially designed 3D printed trophy. I should say, and you probably know this, and of course if you were here for Peter Begg's talk, you would have seen how fascinating it was. Antarctica is one of the most unique places on Earth, and it shares many of the same characteristics that astronauts will experience as they explore the solar system in the future. It is remote and can only be reached through well-planned expeditions. It has an extreme environment that requires a significant amount of specialised gear to survive. Expeditions there are often comprised of international crews who spend a significant amount of time in isolation, requiring real effort to maintain the psychological well-being of the team. And there are many important scientific observations to be made in the field. So the big problem for the Space Challenge, the problem statement as they're calling it, is this: using new or current technologies or data in space or on the ice, find the best methods to identify hazards and map a path across the ice, and or design a prototype or new sensor system and algorithms to help vehicles navigate across the ice in Antarctica. That's the problem, that's the challenge. Before we proceed, we'd just like to introduce you to, you heard from her this morning, one of the co-partners, Christchurch NZ. Could you please welcome Joanna Norris?
Thank you again, Mark. Hey, how wonderful to see you all again. I've caught up with some of you over afternoon tea, and I can see the real incredible energy as conversations bubble through and percolate across the day. So I'm really, really pumped to be back here. Just before we get on to the New Zealand Space Challenge, I thought I would just quickly let you know why I had to nip away earlier this morning, and that was because there was a very important conversation being had at Council this morning. And that conversation was a consideration of Christchurch's Antarctic Gateway strategy. And I'm really happy to be able to tell you that that strategy passed through Council today and was formally adopted, and we now have an official Antarctic Gateway strategy. I raised that here in this forum is because a great many of you in this room participated in, supported the development of that strategy and endorsed the strategy as it went through the various council processes. So a massive congratulations to you all for the support of what is a really exciting piece of work. So the Gateway strategy at its heart aims to celebrate and realise the value of the Gateway status to the benefit of Christchurch, New Zealand and the Antarctic, in support of New Zealand's strong commitment to the Antarctic Treaty System and our national priorities that are implemented by Antarctica New Zealand. So again, congratulations. This is a powerful, important piece of work that has a clear action plan that sits behind it and is deeply committed to the values of kaitiakitanga and manakitanga. A couple of other aspects of the strategy are worth mentioning. There's a strong commitment to logistics excellence and making sure that we are a powerful gateway of choice for the national programs who choose to base themselves here and enter the Antarctic region. The aim is to connect and excite our people around this very, very special and important connection that we have to the Antarctic, to advance knowledge and to champion sustainability. And they are all of the things that we're talking about here in the room today. So again, thank you all for your enormous support as we have developed the strategy, and all of you have contributed to that, and there's been a great deal of work done over a number of years that's got us to this point. Which now takes me to space. So there's been some really neat things happening here, some incredible sessions, and I know that many of you have participated in those, led those, and now we're getting to a point where we get a little bit competitive about it. The Space Challenge is a really interesting project, and the way that we became involved in that is two Edmund Hillary fellows turned up in our office one day and went, "We've got a good idea." And we went, "Oh, that is a good idea." And that led to the development of the New Zealand Space Challenge. Those people were Eric Dahlstrom and Emeline Paat-Dahlstrom, who you'll hear from in a moment. And the aim was to bring together the brightest minds from across the country to use space data and intelligence to solve navigational issues on the ice in the Antarctic, with the potential to translate this to other hostile environments. So you can see how this brings together a lot of what you've been talking about today. So when you see the presentations this afternoon, I'm sure you will all agree that this is exactly what the challenge has achieved, and we've had entrants from right across the country, really enthusiastic support for this challenge because people could see the opportunities that it presents. So being involved with this made quite a lot of sense to us, although some on the team said, "Goodness, why on earth have you committed to that? That feels like a lot of work." It has been. It's been a huge amount of work for our team, and I want to thank everybody who has participated in what felt at times like a bit of a crazy idea. New Zealand is, of course, an incubation nation for the global space economy and already has the ingredients of its own sustainable space industry, and a lot of the speakers have spoken about that today. We also have a vibrant tech sector full of world-class ingenuity, and that's clearly demonstrated by the finalists, and I've been very fortunate to have seen some details of some of the finalists, and they are really mind-blowing ideas that have come through. And basing what is a national challenge out of Christchurch also fitted perfectly with our story, and that's as a place that explores bold opportunities which challenge the status quo. We are a testbed city, we are a place that innovates, and we are a place that partners with other people to bring good ideas with impact to the world, and we're incredibly proud of that. So, as I said before, some what are potentially world-leading solutions to the challenges. They are not only good for the city, not only good for the country, but potentially innovation that's good for the world. The calibre of the concepts imagined by the 5 teams who are our finalists, who our judges have the really hard job of picking between, was extremely high and does have the potential to solve real navigational challenges faced by the teams on the ice. So sit back, we're going to hear from Emeline in a moment, and then we will see the presentations, and I know that they're going to blow your mind. So thank you again, and let's all celebrate that Antarctic strategy once more.
Thanks, Joanna. Well, we now need to hear from SpaceBase. Could you please welcome Emeline Paat-Dahlstrom and Eric Dahlstrom, the directors of SpaceBase. They will share why they started the New Zealand Space Challenge and the future of the aerospace industry in New Zealand and the opportunities globally that it presents.
Woo-hoo. Kia ora tato. Good afternoon, everybody. About a few months ago, we at SpaceBase were entrepreneurs, and we came to New Zealand specifically really with a moonshot. And for us, it's really how do you democratize access to space for everyone, meaning globally, not just for the superpowers, not just for those who have the resources. And so for us to start this is to catalyze an industry and an ecosystem potentially in New Zealand. So we're looking at this as a kind of a roadmap, which starts with education and training all the way to potentially funding entrepreneurs and startups to create these businesses that will put forward the space economy in New Zealand. And so we started out with a few initiatives, and which is why we pitched the idea to Christchurch NZ around the November timeframe. And we were so happy that this was something that was actually embraced, not just in Christchurch, but also embraced all over the country. And really, incentive prices to catalyze like industry and ideas and people is not new. But for us, here in New Zealand, it was more than what we would have imagined in terms of the response and the interest. So this is the output that we have so far. We have about almost like 35 different organizations, from EDAs to universities, academia, and organizations that have basically helped us find all of these new great ideas and people to participate in the challenge. And then also, we're going to be hearing 5 of them, but there was also about 20 other solutions that are out there that are very interesting. The other thing that we're working on to catalyze this industry and community is to create a New Zealand space directory. So at spacebase.co, we're in beta mode right now, but we're trying to find the who's who in New Zealand who can potentially be part of this ecosystem. And so far, there's about 150 organizations and companies that we've located, and I guess this is just the tip of the iceberg. I think there's more out there, and we definitely need your help to find them. Some of the the industry segments that we've been looking at are now already seeing sort of the niches within the country that could potentially be leveraged.
Yeah, and so we are next working on developing the tools in our portal, making it, providing more support to entrepreneurs and students and people seeking careers in the space industry, and expanding the tools for entrepreneurs with virtual accelerators and mentorships and outreach programs. And we're also working with our third partner, Rich Bodo, who's an expert with blockchain experience with successful implementations internationally last few years, to develop a mechanism for funding space projects through blockchain-enabled utility tokens.
And so we're really excited today to see who's going to win. And so good luck to all of the finalists, and thank you to our judges. Let's go on with the show. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, so you are about to hear the 5 regional finalists. They're going to do their presentations, and then there's a little bit of time at the end for Q&A. The Q&A is only for the judges. If you have a question that you desperately want to ask them, perhaps you could wait for the networking event because it's only for the judges, sorry. Speaking of which, we should probably introduce this effervescent bunch. These are the people sitting at the tables at the front here, in no particular order. We have Jonathan Leach from Antarctica, New Zealand, Michelle Rogan-Finnemore from CompNat, Miranda Satterthwaite from ARA, Dr. Maria Posa from GQ Law, Dean Peterson from the New Zealand Space Agency, Jonathan Miller from Callaghan, Mark Nichols from Trimble, Raphael Kagren from CSST, Michael Singleton from Christchurch International Airport, Nick Brewer from ATID, Mark Rocket